We got professional killers, corrupt government agencies, and even some ninja. Oh, let's hit this. Okay, everybody, today we're going all the way back to 1975 to look at a tour de force in the action and adventure. Well, maybe not so much adventure, but action movie genre. We're going all the way back to look at Sam Peckinpah's The Killer Elite. But before we go any further, once again, and as always, to the trailer.
Mike Locken and George Hansen are friends. They share just about everything.
Hey, give me $100. Yeah, but what can you do with this stuff now? It's monopoly money.
The same apartment.
Here's shower and shave, man. Here's your juice. You can shower there.
The same women.
What do you think of that little chick you just left in bed? Pretty nice.
They even share the same job. They work for the CIA. They're part of the Killer Elite. James Caan and Robert Duvall in Sam Peckinpah's The Killer Elite. A very private enterprise that employs cab drivers.
I used to think what I did was nice and necessary. What the hell do I know?
Pretty girls. Sportsmen.
I got me tapped as a psycho.
Executives.
The CIA gives us 11% of our gross.
Everybody get back.
That's plastique with a detonator.
What should I do with it?
See that bay right there? I'd run down there and chuck it in there. Listen, officer, I'd sure run. What a dummy.
James Caan is Locken. He was the best until he was broken.
You're a cripple. You'll never be Top Gun again.
Then he became even better.
I'm coming back full duty.
Robert Duvall is Hansen. They were close.
Are you part of the organization?
But not close enough.
You just retired, Mike. Enjoyed it.
A guy can't blow up his best friend. Where's the morality in the world?
If it hadn't been me, it would have been somebody else.
Everybody pays you, don't they?
Oh, we're all idealists.
James Caan. Robert Duvall. Arthur Hill. Gig Young. The Killer Elite.
Okay, as I mentioned, this was directed by Sam Peckinpah. Truly one of my favorites, folks. Truly one of my favorites. I wish his career was longer if he didn't have all those personal problems. But anyway, we're talking, he's done stuff like Convoy. He's done Cross of Iron, Straw Dogs, oh my God, The Wild Bunch, Major Dundee, The Osterman Weekend, and a chunk of perfection that will never be rivaled, The Getaway. So, what he did was just amazing. Amazing. Career was too short because he was too wild. But anyway, that doesn't make a difference. Let's get going to the cast. Okay, playing Mike Locken. James Caan. Boom. You know we're going to have fun with this, folks. Here we go. We're talking about he was in stuff like Rollerball, which was amazing, and Misery, and Thief, and Alienation, and Funny Lady, and Freebie and the Bean, and Cinderella Liberty, and Brian's Song, and Gardens of Stone, A Bridge Too Far, For the Boys, The Rain People, Silent Movie, and of course, The Godfather. What more do you need to know? What more do you need to say? Playing George Hansen, a star of equal footing, if not even bigger, Robert Duvall. Let's hit it. We're talking about he has been in stuff like, obviously, The Godfather, along with James Caan, in Apocalypse Now, and Falling Down, in The Paper, in The Natural, in Tender Mercies, in Joe Kidd, in The Betsy, in True Grit, and Bullet, and Colors, in Days of Thunder, in The Apostle, and Deep Impact, and of course THS 1138. Playing Mac, Burt Young. Come on, we all know he was in Rocky 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, 8, 24, and 93. And so much more. We're talking about he was in things like Convoy, oh, another Peckinpah flick, in Chinatown, in Cinderella Liberty, in Excessive Force, which I've reviewed already, in Blood Beach, in The Pope of Greenwich Village, in Amityville 2, in Once Upon a Time in America, in Back to School, in The Florentine, in Betsy's Wedding. So, Burt Young, he's kind of always Burt Young in every movie, you know what I'm talking about? Never turned his neck, always at the shoulders. Ha ha! Legend. Playing Cop Collins, Arthur Hill. Let's go. Anyway, he was in stuff like The Champ, in A Bridge Too Far, in fucking Future World, in The Pursuit of Happiness, in The Chairman, in The Ugly American, in The Andromeda Strain, which should never be forgotten, in A Little Romance, in The Amateur, in A Night to Remember, you know, boat. Ha-ha! Anyway, Arthur Hill, been around a long time. Playing Chung, the legendary. Oh, don't you forget it. Mako. So here we go. We're talking he was in Conan the Barbarian and Conan the Destroyer, and with Chuck Norris in An Eye for an Eye, and A Little Hidden Gem Under the Rainbow, and The Sand Pebbles, and Tucker the Man in His Dream, and Pacific Heights, and Sidekicks, and Rising Sun, and 7 Years in Tibet, and trillions of TV shows. Anyway, Mako, legend. Playing Weyburn, sometimes forgotten but had a good career, Gig Young. Man, he was old when he did this shit. His career was decades before all this. But here we go. We're talking about he was in stuff like The Hindenburg, and Kid Galahad, and A Touch of Mink, and Tunnel of Love, and Teacher's Pet, and Slaughter Trail, and Holiday for Sinners, and Air Force. Big career, long career. He was winding down by the time he did this, folks, because his career was fucking decades long before he even made it to this motion picture. Playing Jerome Miller. Bo Hopkins. Oh man, I think this is the first time he's come up in any of my movies. This is like 112th review or something, 112, 113, some shit like that. How could he have not been in here before? How? Doesn't make a difference. Let's go. We're talking about he was in stuff like Midnight Express, and The Getaway, and American Graffiti, and Day of the Locust, and Tentacles, and Mutant, and The Wild Bunch, and White Lightning, and The Moonshine Express, and Trapper County Roar. So, Bo Hopkins, anybody who was around at that point in time, seen his face pop up all the time. Distinctive dude, jumped off the screen, is what it was. Let's go to the story. I'm going to try to keep this to 90 seconds or less once and again, and as always, as I always do, so we can keep it fast, keep it entertaining, keep it moving, and get to the summation, which is where we all rather be. Anyway, let's go. You got James Caan, Mike, and you got his boy Robert Duvall, Hansen, and they work for a secret agency that does a lot of contracting work for the U.S. government. You know what I'm talking about, protecting people, maybe making people disappear, is what it was. Well, one night, they're protecting this guy. Next thing you know, Robert Duvall pops him in the head for no apparent reason. That doesn't make sense. They're supposed to be protecting him. He goes to talk to his boy, James Caan. James Caan's like, what you doing with the gun, son? I don't understand what's going on. Before you know it, bam, he shoots James Caan in the elbow, poof, pops him in the knee, leaves him a cripple, and walks off. He was probably really supposed to kill him or something like that, but, you know, they were friends, and, well, you know, hey, that's the way shit goes, you know, friendship can do a lot. Anyway, James Caan goes through a lot of rehab, a lot of physical rehabilitation. He gets himself back on his feet, gets moving, but the agency don't want nothing to do with him. They think he's an embarrassment. He's a cripple. They don't need him floating around anymore until a job comes up where he has to protect Mako. And, well, just happens to be the guy hired to kill Mako happens to be Hansen, Robert Duvall, who popped a couple caps in him. So they get him to protect the guy from the guy who shot him. But is it all set up? Are they all dirty? Is everybody at the top a little bit shady? And the people at the top even shadier? Well, that's a long story. I ain't going to get into it. So, that's the gist of it. You got the idea. Let's keep going to the summation. Okay, everybody, what makes this motion picture work? And this motion picture works. I have forever and a day loved The Killer Elite. They made a remake of it several years ago with Jason Statham and shit. Avoid that shit. Check this one out. This movie, yes, it takes a little bit longer to get rolling than that one, but, you know, that's because they care about these funny little fucking things called character development and story and shit like that. Man, who'd have fucking thought? But once again, at the helm of this thing, you got Sam Peckinpah. If anybody knew how to direct an action espionage type flick, it's Sam Peckinpah. Come on, I've already gone through what he's done before. The fucking Getaway is legendary. Convoy is awesome. Now, is this motion picture as perfect as The Getaway? Probably not. Is it as fun and maybe entertaining as Convoy? Probably not. But it's right up there, folks. It's a great motion picture. It's right in the middle of those other two flicks, and it deserves more attention than I see sometimes people ever give it. You have an amazing cast. I mean, come on, Jesus Christ. I mean, what more can you say? It's being headlined by James Caan and Robert Duvall. Those guys deliver. They're amazing actors. James Caan's character in this, and he plays him spot on. Think of Han Solo before Han Solo with Harrison Ford. That's James Caan's character. It's kind of this devil-may-care, a little bit playing it wild, a little bit playing it loose, having fun, you know, kind of a scoundrel. Scoundrel. I like the sound of that. Scoundrel. Anyway, but he is that kind of guy. He's one of those dudes that's serious and the best in his craft, yet a little bit fun-loving and all that kind of shit. You see this great bond between him and Hansen / Robert Duvall in the first, 15 minutes of the movie. They're buddies, they're brothers, they laugh together. You can feel the chemistry. They deliver. So, when the betrayal comes along, you feel it. It means something. You care about it. You can't believe what the fuck just took place. And strangely through it all, even though all that takes place, there's still a bit of a love, revenge, love fucking thing going on between these two friends as it plays out. That's what storytelling is. Do I have any critiques of this motion picture? Yeah, sure, a few. You know what I mean? Yes, it does feel like it's a little bit longer than you would think, just because it takes a while for the story to get rolling. Do I think they could have cut it down a little bit? Maybe, but I really love it the way it is, so that's a small critique for what it was. Second, yes, a movie like this with ninjas running around is a little bit weird. I understand it was the mid-70s and everybody was starting to get into that Oriental martial arts craze was breaking out. This is only shortly after Bruce Lee died and Kung Fu was huge on television. But it still felt a little bit weird to have these guys running around with, Uzis and MAC-10s, taking on a bunch of ninjas and shit. Well, not really taking on the ninjas, but you get it. It'll straighten itself out. You'll see what I mean. And to have these guys just diving in out of nowhere with swords, kendo sticks, and all that kind of stuff, and to see that they're trying to take this guy out at the airport and other things with punches and kicks, and you're like, why wouldn't somebody just have this guy shot or something? It just... So you got to take that for what it is. They had the mystique of Asian culture as this old traditional thing where they don't want to use guns and they're going to settle it the old way and whatever. But that's probably the only other really critique you can have. You'd be like, nobody would go through this bullshit if they were trying to have a guy axe. They would just fucking have him axe. That would be about the end of it. But no matter what we might all think, no matter what we might all not think, The Killer Elite is one of the all-time classics of action gunplay cinema from the 1970s. Superb acting, superb directing, just enough action to make it memorable, just enough storyline to make you care. should not be overlooked. Make sure you get out there and check this flick out. Above all else, don't ever let it go under the radar. Don't get in love with that fucking remake they did. Go back and check out the original. Okay, everybody. That's it. That's all I got for today. Be good. Take care. Look out for one another. Stay out of trouble. Help a friend. Be kind to a stranger. And above all else, never, and I mean ever, take any bullshit from anybody. Be good, guys.